In this property education video, I want to share with you how you can make money from an inherited property. Now, obviously, everyone's going to die at some point, and if that person owns property, they're going to leave that property, usually to some family members. And it can be a very difficult time. You just lost a loved one, and they give you this gift of this property that's usually completely paid off. There's a lot of equity there. And the question that might be going through your head is, how can I make the most of this gift I've been given? How can I make sure I don't squander this gift and really do the best out of this opportunity? So what we're going to talk about in this video is some different scenarios and what you might do in that case. First of all, when you have any property, whether you're buying a property or it's one you've already got, such as an inheritance, you need to make sure, is it going to be suitable as an investment property? You see, sometimes it's not the right location, it's not the right kind of property, and actually maybe just selling that property and then using it in a better property in a better area might be the best solution. However, you don't have to sell. Many people think, I've got to sell the property. Well, actually, it might be a great property which would work really well as a rental property. You need to think about who might want to live in this property, in this particular area, how much rent might they pay, and when you know how much rental income could come in from that property, you could speak to a mortgage broker and find out, well, how much of a mortgage would I be able to get on this? Now, obviously, you don't have to get a mortgage. You could just leave it completely unencumbered, rent it out, and just get a nice income coming in, which is a very safe way of doing it. But I think that would be a real shame, because one of the benefits of investing in property is you can use other people's money. You can use banks' money. So let's say you've got a property that's worth £200,000, and let's say the income is enough to be able to get a 75% loan to value mortgage. So if the value is 200, you can get a mortgage of 150,000 as long as the rental income is more than enough to cover all the interest payments. And of course, it would be an interest-only mortgage. That then means, in that case, you then have £150,000 released, and you might want to enjoy some of that money. You might go on a nice holiday, but ideally, you want to invest it. And you could take that 150 and use that money as deposit money for some more investment properties you want to purchase. So this is a really critical point I want to make very clear. And it might sound obvious to some people, but some people have no idea they can do this. But that one inherited property, by remortgaging it and taking out some of the equity, you could actually build up a small portfolio. A small portfolio of properties you rent out, you're providing much needed accommodation to people who can't afford or who don't want to buy their own property. And each of those investment properties is not only covering the cost of the mortgage on that property and all the bills and the maintenance, anything else you have to pay, but each of those properties should be generating a profit for you. And if you add up the profit from each of those, you can get to the point where that might be enough money to completely replace your income. So that gift of an inherited property could be completely life-changing for you. And that's why I wanted to make this video and go into a little bit more detail about some of the things you need to do, because you might be in this situation at some point. You might be sitting there thinking, well, I haven't inherited property, but you never know when it might happen. And you might actually have parents who maybe are no longer around, or maybe parents don't own property, but sometimes you hear about people inheriting properties from distant aunties and uncles, relatives they never even knew they had. And I want to make sure that you're ready. If you do get an inherited property, I want to make sure you make the most of that. So, some simple things you need to do. You need to think about, do you want to be managing the property yourself, or do you want to get a professional letting agent to do it for you? The property might be the other side of the country, which means that it's not very practical for you. And also, what's the condition of the property? Often inherited properties might have been lived in for 30, 40 years, and maybe not much work has been done to those properties. Often they need some modernising. They might need new kitchens, bathrooms, carpets. They might need a new electric system. So sometimes there's a substantial amount of money needed to be spent on those properties. And that's often why people sell those properties, because they think, well, we don't have the money to do the work, we don't have the contacts, we don't have the time and energy, let's just sell the property and cash it in. And that might be the right solution. You could then use the money to invest in a property that's local to where you're based. However, don't think you have to use your money. You could potentially remortgage that property or get some bridging finance secured on the property to give you the money to actually get the work done. And then increase the value. And even if you decide you want to sell the property, rather than letting someone else come and add the value to the property, you could borrow the money, get the work done, and sell a property in tip-top condition, ready for someone to move into, rather than someone who's going to take it on as a project and add value and then benefit from that themselves. So there are several solutions you could do here. You could just sell the property, probably at a discount because someone else needs to improve it. You could borrow money secured against that property, get the work done, and then sell it on. Or you could get the work done and then remortgage it properly once you've got it rented out to pay back the money you borrowed and then start your property investing journey. Now, for you to be able to get a mortgage on that rental property, sometimes people question, well, can I get finance or not? I once had a client someone I knew, and they had their own home, they'd inherited a property, and they were taking a lot of time doing a little bit of work at the weekends, whenever they had a little bit of cash, getting the property ready to rent out. And they needed a full refurb. They took a year to do the work because they didn't know that they could have two mortgages. They thought, well, surely you can only have one residential. And yes, most people can only have one residential mortgage. But the mortgage you get on a property that you don't live in is not going to be a residential mortgage. It's going to be a buy-to-let mortgage. It's going to be maybe bridging or development finance if you need to do lots of work on that property. So for you to be able to get finance on another property that is not your own home, it helps if you have a reasonable credit rating. So you might want to go and check your personal credit score, make sure everything's correct on there. If you have any blips in there, it might be difficult to borrow. But maybe you're not the only person inheriting the property. Maybe you have some siblings and they are also inheriting the property. If you personally can't get a mortgage for whatever reason, maybe the property could be, or the mortgage could be put in their name, okay? So make sure you're mortgageable. Also, I highly recommend you use a mortgage broker who understands property investment, because many people don't. They get mortgages for homeowners, and maybe the person who helped you get a mortgage on your own home, they may not do investment mortgages. So make sure you have a broker who not only understands about property investing, they also have access to the whole market. Sometimes people speak to their bank, and banks are maybe not the best people to get buy-to-let mortgages or bridging finance from. So this is why you need to get a really good broker who's got access to the full market. Now you can go and Google them, you can ask for recommendations. Another way is obviously by going to your local property investor network meeting. You may know I set up Property Investor Network back in 2003. There are now 50 plus meetings all over the UK for people like you who want to learn more about successful investing. And each month we have different speakers, different themes. You can go along, you can connect, meet other local people, get recommendations for people such as local builders, solicitors, mortgage brokers, etc. And at most of those network meetings, we have a great mortgage broker who gives an update on the finance market, and they understand what's happening, and they would be great people to work with. So check out your local PIN meeting. We'll put a link below this video, but it's pinmeeting.co.uk. And if you've never been to a PIN meeting before, when it comes to pay for your ticket for PIN, which is £25, just use the word YouTube and you can come to your very first PIN meeting for free and see what you've been missing out on. It's a great way if you want to start investing. We have lots of experienced investors go along because they understand the value of networking and connecting with other people. So anyway, back to our main topic. I just want to make sure you understand how you can find really good mortgage brokers. So once you understand what kind of mortgage you can get, now people are sometimes worried about, well, if I'm taking out this mortgage, I've got to pay this interest every month. What if it takes a few months to get a tenant in? And yes, it can take a little time to get a tenant in. You need to make sure the property's right. But obviously you've just released a whole load of cash, and you could use some of that cash to cover the mortgage payments until the property is fully let. In fact, I highly recommend you have some cash put aside as a cash buffer just to cover unexpected things that might not be covered by the normal insurance. And actually that's golden rule number 5 in my book, Property Magic. If you haven't read Property Magic, again, you might want to go and check that out on Amazon. We'll put a link where you can get a complimentary copy below this video as well. Because you need to understand the basics about investing in property. Unfortunately, it's one of those things they never teach you in school. However, this YouTube channel is a vast source of information for you, and I recommend you go through these videos. You can listen to the Property Magic podcast, which is completely free of charge, comes out every Tuesday. Read my book, Property Magic, and get along to your local PIN meetings. Property investing is not easy, but it is straightforward when you know how to do it. And if you have this gift of an inherited property, this could be the start of something great for you and your future generations. So as ever, I encourage you to invest with knowledge, invest with skill. Check out the links below this video. Hello, it's Simon Zutshi here. I do hope you just enjoyed that YouTube video. And you know what? If you really want to move forward in your property investing, it's much easier to do it with the help of other people. And one of the best things you can do is go to your local property investor network meeting where you can meet other like-minded people. You can learn some of the very best strategies and really get a motivational positive boost every single month about what you could achieve from your property investing. Now, there are 50 plus meetings around the UK. We've got meetings in the Netherlands, we've got them in the UAE as well, and growing around Europe. So all you have to do is click on the link below this video, go to pinmeeting.co.uk. All the meetings are listed there. Click on the one that's closer to you. See when the date and time is. And if you want to attend that meeting, you can just buy a ticket. Or if you want to come as my guest to your very first PIN meeting, just use the voucher code, which is the word YouTube, because obviously you've watched the YouTube video. So just go to pinmeeting.co.uk, pick your location, scroll down where it says payment options, click on pay with a voucher code, fill in the details, use the word YouTube, and it will bypass the payment page and you can come to your very first PIN meeting for free. If you haven't been yet, I highly recommend you come along and see exactly what you've been missing out on. You're going to wish you would have gone years ago. It's going to help you move forward massively with your property investing. So if you enjoy these videos, I highly recommend you go and check out the PIN meeting. Click on the link below in the description. Invest with knowledge, invest with skill, and enjoy the next video.